Welcome and hello from Alex, with a story from r/TrueOffMyChest, where a father grapples with the unimaginable after his son is critically injured in a house fire, questioning inconsistencies in the story of what happened. Coming up next is a story from Kevin1999. My son was left behind in a house fire. About a month ago, on April 2, 2024, my son was badly burned in a horrific house fire. My son's mother and I are separated, so my son goes back and forth between us. He lives with his mom primarily. I got a phone call while I was at work at 2 a.m. It was my son's mother crying hysterically and telling me that her house burned down and that our son is being transported to the hospital. I told my boss and left in a hurry. My girlfriend was also working. We both work overnight shifts, and her job was only about 8 minutes away. I told her what happened and picked her up and went straight to the hospital my son was sent to. The entire way there I was worried, but I was thinking to myself that whatever happened to my son may not be that bad. When I arrived at the hospital, my girlfriend and I ran to the emergency entrance. They only allowed me to see my son since I am his dad. I saw my son's mother being treated by the nurses because she inhaled some smoke. Keep in mind there's not a scratch or burn on her. The nurse takes me to go see my son and I see his burned body being wheeled off to the next room because he needed treatment immediately. My son has third-degree burns on 80% of his body. When I saw his little body laying on that bed, I lost it. I couldn't believe my eyes. My son's mother, her boyfriend, her sister, her second son, and my son were in the house the night of the fire. All but my son made it out of the house. The boyfriend has burns on his face and right arm only. My son's mother claims to me that her boyfriend went back in to save our son. However, she told my girlfriend that my son ran out of the house by himself. Her stories have been very inconsistent, so I don't believe a word she says. I am heartbroken and furious because my son's mother made it out of the house with not a single burn, yet my son has third-degree burns all over. How can I not think that he was left behind? The pit in my stomach twists tighter with every word. A month out, the raw grief must be a constant storm. This is an unimaginable nightmare. A child, so innocent, caught in the middle. The inconsistencies in the mother's story scream for answers. How could anyone leave a child behind in a fire? My mind races with questions. Was it panic, a misunderstanding, or something more sinister? The anger is a hot coal, burning alongside the despair. This father deserves the truth, deserves some shred of peace. The road ahead will be brutal, filled with physical and emotional scars. All I can hope for is that somehow he finds the strength to fight for his son and for himself. Coming up next is a story from Nextdoorfamily. My girlfriend just sent me roses to my workplace and I don't know what to do with myself. Okay, in the break room at my work and I am grinning like an idiot. And I don't know what to do with my hands, so I am typing this out to get rid of all this nervous energy. I work as a mechanic and my boss called me over to the office. I thought I fucked up somehow, but he had a big ass bouquet of roses on his desk. He told me, "This is for you." I was like, WTF, but I read the card attached and it said, "Just because, love, girlfriend." My boss laughed at me and told me I had a good one and to not fuck it up, lol. He did say he'd have to give me shit for it, but he's happy for me. Sure enough, the boys on the floor ripped me to shreds once they heard about it, but I didn't care. I was like floating, lol. Now I am on my break and I can't stop thinking about how much this completely caught me off guard. Can someone please talk me down from going out to buy her a ring after work, lol? Man, sounds like you're on cloud 9. A surprise bouquet of roses at work. That's next level girlfriend material right there. Don't worry about the butterflies, completely normal. I'd be grinning like a goofball too if my significant other pulled something like that. Taking it slow on the ring front is probably wise. Let this amazing gesture sink in for a bit. Enjoy the afterglow. Maybe plan a romantic dinner for the weekend to show your appreciation. But yeah, definitely hold off on the jewelry store for now. Unless, of course, you've already been secretly planning something and this just feels like the perfect sign. In that case, all bets are off. Go get her, tiger. Coming up next is a story from Sadie427, and if you like the video so far, don't forget to like the video. It only takes a second and helps me out a lot. My son kicked me in the stomach and my husband slapped him. Our son is 11 years old. Lately he's wanted to stay home from school a lot. I know that it's not good, but I've let him. He's so sleepy in the morning, it breaks my heart to try to force him. And I can't really force him anymore. I also have 2 younger children I need to tend to in the morning. I've asked my son if something is wrong at school, but he said no, I just want to sleep. My husband goes to work before our son has to wake up. But he caught on to him missing school and he was not happy about it. He spoke to him, and my son has been very good for the past couple weeks. Until Friday I went to wake him, and he said, "Mommy, I am too tired." He rarely calls me mommy anymore. I felt bad, but I kept trying to coax him out of bed. I didn't want to go against my husband. My son told me, "Dad's not here, chill." I told him that his father wants what's best for him. And so do I. I tried to touch him and he kicked me in the stomach. I was shocked and it was very painful. I left his room and cried in the bathroom. I didn't try to fight him anymore because I had to take care of my other kids. My son has never hurt me like that before. I ended up having a bruise on my stomach. When my husband was home and found out what had happened, he told me he'd talked to him. Our son was playing video games and he called him over. He asked him, "Did you kick your mother?" My son started saying, "I am sorry, Dad." I was mad. My husband slapped him across the face. He asked him, "Do you want to kick me now?" My son shook his head no. My husband said, "Because you know I am stronger than you are. You're not tough for hurting your mother. You will never act like that again. Do you understand?" When my husband let him go, I went over to check on him. His face was so red and he was fighting back tears. I got an ice pack and I was icing his face. He told me it's okay. I deserved that. He hugged me and later made me a card apologizing, which was very sweet. I know husband just wanted to teach our son, but I didn't like him hitting our child. In our culture that's common, but my husband has taken better approaches. I don't know if I am being oversensitive, but it's hard to see your child hurt as a mother even if my husband is right. This is a tough one. There's a lot to unpack here. On the one hand, the son's behavior is concerning. Missing school consistently and lashing out physically are signs something might be wrong. The husband's frustration is understandable. But hitting a child, especially across the face, feels excessive. It might shut him down for a moment, but it won't necessarily address the root cause. There's a chance it could damage trust and make communication even harder. The mom's caught in the middle, wanting to support her husband but also wanting to protect her son. Her tenderness in icing his face shows a deep love. Maybe there's a way to combine firmness with understanding. If I were in her shoes, I'd want to talk to my husband. Maybe they could approach their son together, express concern for his well-being, and try to gently pry into why he's avoiding school. Is he being bullied? Does he have trouble sleeping? There could be an underlying issue they haven't considered. Together, they could come up with a plan that addresses the root cause and helps their son get back on track without resorting to physical punishment. It's a tightrope walk, but open communication and empathy might be the best way to reach him. Coming up next is a story from Amiable 5. My 13-year-old son got punched by his girlfriend's dad. I am so upset right now, I needed to write this to vent. My son is only 13. He has a girlfriend who he met at school. Today he was over at her house. I've met and talked to her mom, but not her father. My son texted me asking me to pick him up. It was earlier than I expected. I went to get him and I was horrified to find him with a bloody nose. My son refused to tell me what happened until we were home. I was cleaning his face and he told me, very hesitantly, what happened. He said that his girlfriend's parents told her to keep her door open. He said she closed it anyway because you know. He said her dad stormed in, grabbed him and punched him in his face, and yelled at him to never disrespect his house or his daughter again. I told my son this is not okay and that he's never ever going there again. I am so upset, I can hear my heart beating. There was no reason for this man to attack my son, a child. I texted the mother and she said she's so sorry and embarrassed. I called my husband and sent him a pic of our son's face. I was crying and told him what happened to our son. My husband said I get it, but he has no right to lay hands on my boy. I'll go over there and see if he's as tough with me as he was with a kid. I asked my husband if that's the best idea. I just don't want him any trouble. He said of course it is. It's my job to defend my family. He told me to calm down and to let him handle it from here. This is a nightmare as a mother. My son is a little boy and was their guest. My stomach churns reading this. This poor kid, getting punched by his girlfriend's dad. Totally unacceptable. The girlfriend's mom's apology feels hollow if she couldn't stop her partner from turning violent. The husband wanting to confront the guy is understandable. That protective rage is real. But going over there heated might escalate things. Maybe the wife can talk him down a bit. There needs to be consequences for this dad's actions. Police report. Absolutely. This kind of behavior can't be tolerated. And the son definitely needs support. He might be shaken after this ordeal. Maybe talking to a therapist or counselor could help him process it all. This situation is a mess, but the mom's on the right track. Protecting her son and making sure this never happens again is crucial. Here's hoping they can navigate this as a family and get some justice for their son. Coming up next is a story from 8 Gravy. I heard a mother's heartbreak. For context, I work in a very small town in an office with 4 other people. We are all very, very close, and the town in general is. Tuesday of last week was a slow day at my job, so our assistant manager was listening to the fire call scanner. It wasn't anything crazy when all of a sudden we heard a call for a major side-by-side accident versus a truck in the town our office manager lives in. My assistant manager turned pale and said she had a feeling it was the manager's son. We told her she was being overdramatic. We can't scare her like that. Well, about 5 minutes later, we hear the most awful screams and cries coming from our manager's office. It was her son. He was hit while riding a side-by-side by a truck going 60 miles per hour. She fell to the ground sobbing and saying she doesn't want to live anymore. In her screams and cries, I heard a mother's heartbreak, and it's gotten to me. Every day I can still hear her cries as clear as day, and it's messing with me. That's an incredibly difficult story to hear. The raw pain in the office manager's cries must have been awful. It's chilling to imagine hearing a mother's heartbreak like that. It's completely understandable that it's stuck with you. Those kind of sounds stay with you. Trying to push it down won't necessarily make it go away. Maybe talking to someone about it could help. A coworker you trust, a friend, or even a therapist. Sometimes just acknowledging the awfulness of the situation and validating your own emotional response can be a big step. Reaching out to your office manager, maybe with a card or flowers expressing your condolences, could be a small comfort to her too. In a small town like yours, everyone probably feels the impact of this tragedy. It's good you're so empathetic, but remember to take care of yourself too. That wraps up r/TrueOffMyChest. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to visit my Spotify channel, link is in the description, so you can listen to the best Reddit story while being outside, and remember to hit that subscribe button.